Well, joining us from Wales is a BBC Sports Journalist John Wilkinson. John, thanks very much for your time this afternoon.
Pleasure. It's good to speak to you.
Look, it's been a sensational World Cup. I think it's really exceeded the expectations of many people prior to the Qatar 2022. A lot of people were really raising some concerns. What's been this perception in the United Kingdom over having a World Cup here in the Middle East?
Well, I think it's a tournament that initially came under a lot of scrutiny because inevitably, whilst the football would be the focus, once it actually got underway, there were the issues that were being reported on extensively. And whether that was the civil liberties that people enjoy in other countries that are limited or illegal in Qatar, or the migrant workers that have died, or I suppose the introduction of a World Cup halfway through a season for leagues like the Premier League and other European leagues. These were the issues that people were talking about. And yet, when the football started, it was inevitable that the matches, the footballers, the shocks, the talking points would then be the focus rather than those issues leading up to the tournament and even the awarding of it some 12 years ago. So you don't read so much about those issues in the papers anymore. You don't hear about it in conversations. We're far more keen to talk about the actual matches that are going on. And I suppose the tournament too hasn't exacerbated any of the issues by there being, say, the crowd trouble, which we saw at the European Championship final in England, which was hugely embarrassing for the FA and England as a whole. So I would say that the tournament is being very much enjoyed. The FIFA President Gianni Infantino has called it the best group stage ever. And certainly you look at the matches and some of the performances and some of the starring players, and it's hard to disagree. It's been a good footballing tournament.
Well, indeed, it's a good footballing tournament, but not for some of the European giants who've been knocked out and, probably would have to do a lot of understanding of what went wrong. What do you read about, Spain, Germany and the likes being knocked out early in the tournament?
I suppose coming from a perspective of an England fan, there's unlikely to be much sympathy for Germany, Neil. And of course, they're a team who have, I suppose, dashed the dreams of many teams over the years. 1954, that wonderful Hungary side, 1974, 2002, times when they were seen as, if not the villains, then certainly not the team that the neutrals were wanting to win. So for Germany to go out at a group stage of a World Cup for the second time in a row, remember, I think is very much treated as a continuation of the decline of the German side from the all-conquering teams that we saw previously. Now, Spain going out, that was a shock. And full credit to Morocco. Wonderful performances from them so far this season. I've been so impressed by them and the progress that they've made through the tournament. And so for these I suppose, bigger teams to be going out, I suppose it's vindication, really, for the plans of someone like Infantino who wants to expand the World Cup to a larger size, and not have the same nations winning the tournament year after year after year. Now, of course, you'll know that South American and European sides have won the World Cup every year that it's been going on.
Right.
But them to be falling out at the earlier stage of the competition suggests that standards are raising wherever you may find it across the globe.
You bring up an interesting point. You did hear the FIFA president say this has been, one of the most fantastic sort of group and not group stage that's been in the World Cup. But are we going to see that same sort of enjoyment and drama if we do go to a larger competition for the next World Cup in North America?
Yeah, that's the key question, isn't it? It'll be moving from 32 to 48 teams in 2026. Does it mean more chance of shocks like Saudi Arabia beating Argentina, for example? Or are we going to see more results like Spain 7, Costa Rica 0, England 6, Iran 2? And we've also seen the hosts lose all 3 games in this tournament, let's not forget. So it's a big question. For me, I'm encouraged to see that things are improving in terms of these countries who haven't necessarily always dominated the world game coming to the fore. Japan, one of 3 Asian teams to qualify for the last 16, which had never happened before. African teams collecting more points in the group stage than ever before. Morocco topping a group containing Croatia, the World Cup semi-finalists, and the world number 2 side, Belgium, though they won't be that for long, and then beating Spain, Cameroon beating Brazil. So these are all suggestive of what the Senegal coach, Aliou Cissé, has actually said. It's not like 30 years ago when the big fish were eating the little fish alive. That doesn't happen so much. I do hear that FIFA are going to be backtracking on their plan to have 16 groups of 3 teams. Now, it seems amazing to me that they hadn't considered that because one team isn't involved in the last match day, that could involve 2 teams contriving the result amongst themselves. There will be 12 groups of 4 teams after all. I think the quality overall may get lower. That is very possible. But do the positives outweigh the negatives? I think it's an interesting conversation to have.
Well, indeed, these conversations will obviously be on in everyone's mind until it finalizes on, if 48 teams actually make sense or 32. But tell me something, we've been talking about this one game that's going to happen over the weekend, and I presume arguably the best game that everyone is looking forward to. England versus France. Is it really going to come home this Christmas, John?
Oh dear, people from this part of the world, no reminding. It's been a fair old while, 1966, since there was major success. And you may know that the song which launched that famous motto, "It's coming home," that's been re-recorded several times now.
Yes.
As they update it for each tournament that comes along. Oh, look, well, any team which has reached the World Cup semi-final and a European Championship final in recent years should be making its supporters feel confident, shouldn't they? As ever with England, O'Neill, I think that the danger is that supporters confuse the strength of the Premier League with the title-winning potential of the national team. The Premier League has a high proportion of the world's best players. The England team does not, with a few notable exceptions. I think Gareth Southgate has got them playing in a system which has seen them keep 3 clean sheets in a row and share the goals amongst 8 different players. That's significant. France seem to be leaning quite significantly on a very good player in Kylian Mbappe. I think the real test starts now for England. Everything that's gone before is fairly immaterial compared to taking on one of the favourites for the title, I would say, alongside Brazil. Is it coming home? I would never, ever say that, because hope have been dashed too many times if you're in England.
Yeah, well, John, you're in Wales, so are you a Welsh supporter or an England supporter?
Now, I'll have to be careful here.
Yes,
My
I know.
wife as well.
I understand.
Well.
Look, I'll get you out of it, but I'll change the topic of conversation, because having gone to Qatar, this World Cup has had the best behaved England supporters of any World Cup. There's been no drama, there's been no off-field antics, and it's been a success in many regards. But I would really like to see a team win that hasn't won it before, and I'm looking towards Portugal. Their performance 6-1 was just extraordinary, and whilst it raised so many hopes of Portuguese supporters, it also raised the big question around Cristiano Ronaldo. He's benched. I mean, can he make his... I mean, it's a big call, and it was proven to be the right call. Can he make his way back into the side? And also, his benching, what does it mean for his choice of club after the World Cup?
Yeah, it's a great question. Could you really leave out Gonçalo Ramos, who scored a hat-trick in that game, even though Cristiano Ronaldo was such a force, and I could reel off a whole lot of statistics about him, the most significant of them, though, 5-time Ballon d'Or winner, 118 goals in 195 international games. He has it in him to be absolutely wonderful and to be a match win. Can he take free kicks like he used to? No. Can he last the 90 minutes without having a strop? No. He burnt his bridges at Manchester United. He did an explosive interview, as you may know, with a broadcaster here, which said he had no respect for the club's manager nor owners. So that was it for him at Manchester United. Who could afford to pay him the kind of salary that he may feel that he commands? He's already turned down £173 million a year to join a Saudi Arabian team called Al Nassr. He still wants to play Champions League football. The trouble is, the number of options for him are very limited if you find that you have a player who's not good for team harmony. He celebrated the majority of their goals against Switzerland, but then walked off alone at the end of the match while his teammates celebrated. There's been speculation he was dropped for the match in the first place because of his petulant reactions being substituted in their match against South Korea. I think he could come on as a substitute and still be, say, a hero of this World Cup. But the odds are he's going to have to do it from the bench. And in terms of his club, the Champions League club, I am rather struggling to think of one that would sign him up, given the baggage that now appears to come with. Undoubtedly one of the best players ever played the game.
We spoke about one of the best players in the world. The other one is playing for Argentina. What do you think Messi and Argentina's chances are from that side of the group? Because potentially, if they win their quarterfinal game, they probably could be fighting against Brazil in the semi-finals, who are looking absolutely amazing in this tournament.
Oh, it's a mouth-watering prospect, isn't it? Lionel Messi, again, at their force, really, in the modern game, perhaps in any era. And he's a player who, like in recent years, has shown in flashes what he's capable of, dragging his team through certain matches in which he's been called upon to do just that. Now, for me, he is a player that still has a beautiful play, of course. And although they recently lost their winning streak, of 35. Now it's 3 instead.
Yep.
They're capable of beating anyone in the tournament as long as Messi is on the field. That's the quality that they give you. The difference really with Portugal is that they lean rather more on Messi to Argentina than Portugal appear to do now as well.
True.
So I think Messi will continue to start matches, quite obvious. And it's important those flashes become rather more frequent if Argentina is to go on and win this tournament, which would be, of course, I suppose, a fitting end to a career for Lionel Messi if he decides to call it a day after that. It's the one trophy that's missing, and a player of his caliber deserves it. As I suppose he would say about Ronaldo as well, but slightly less likely, I would say, than Argentina, who've looked very good indeed so far. But Brazil too, goodness me, what performances we've seen from them, dancing their way potentially to yet another World Cup.
John, we do appreciate your time today. Just lastly, your tip for the two teams that are going to be in the final?
Oh gosh, let's say France, shall we? And let's say Argentina. I'll go with that. I think France have been quite brilliant. I just feel like Brazil haven't yet had a little slip, which we have seen in previous tournaments, haven't we? I'll say France, Argentina. You can come back to me and say I got that completely wrong.
Well,
further down on
look, as an Australian, I'd love to see France there. So
I'm an Argentina fan, so John, you got my side there.
We're done. John Wilkinson, a sports reporter for the BBC. Thank you very much for your time today here on TSB.
Pleasure speaking.